What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Freedom to Flourish podcast. Today, we bring you episode 96. We're titling it Flu Season 2025. Maybe we'll put 2025, 2026, because I'm sure that will carry over into the beginning of next year. But the goal for today is to talk about all of the things that we are seeing as very, very, very helpful with this year's round of sickness. Not just the flu, but basically any other sickness that people are coming in with. And when people come into our offices, all of our patients are aware. We don't just, it's not like we just say, hey, go get your flu, get tested for flu and we'll see what comes up and we'll recommend something. We rely on the muscle testing to figure out exactly what your body needs. And we will find that you have some sort of viral infection or some sort of bacterial infection, yada, yada. Find the herbs that help it. And so we are basing what we are talking about and what we see clinically off of what we're finding with patients in the office and the results that we're getting from that, which is great. Another big announcement, just for fun here. Today marks the last day that we're going to be in my office.
Yay!
We're moving to another office in Bentonville, technically speaking, but the first office for Flourish Functional Wellness Center will be no longer.
That's amazing.
It's a big day.
It's a day to celebrate.
It is. And it's funny because our listeners, by the time they listen to this, we will be in the new office. So technically it is the last day for me, but this coming Monday
day for you.
Correct. This coming Monday we'll be in the new office. So it's all ready to go. Inspections passed. It's been much longer than I was initially told. The real estate agent / property manager guy, he had told me, yeah, we'll get you in there September 1st. And here we are. We're going to be getting in there on Friday, November 14th. So it's a little delayed, but it's okay. We're getting there. So
that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, and it's great. It's great because another update. So Dr. Kathy has been with us at the office for 7.5, going on 8 months now. And she's doing great, seeing a bunch of patients and everything. And with the new space, I actually figured it'd probably be a good idea if we try to find somebody else that can fill up some of the other rooms that we have. And we actually found a really great massage therapist.
I love it.
And so she's been seeing some people and we've been hearing nothing but great things. So we have a Christmas tree in the lobby right now that has like gift cards and things like that we're trying to encourage patients to get for like their family members and just people that it's easier to take care of yourself when somebody else is encouraging you and allowing you to do so. So we're offering deals, really good deals and stuff like that for that. So not saying that so our listeners will take us up on that, but just throwing that out there that we have added a massage therapist who is doing really great. And it's actually really cheap compared to other people in the area. So
I love it. That's awesome. Well, in a slightly different note, you didn't mention this, but for both of us, I mean, we both started our practices, at least our current practices here roughly 2 years ago and in 2023. And so we're both celebrating that, which is, like our time through school and our time working with patients and our time in our internships studying, with different doctors doesn't feel at all like 2 years. It feels like we've been doing this thing for like 10 years, but another thing to celebrate, another thing to be excited about. So I was just telling you, we've been having some little protein bars, kind of samples for patients just to have a little treat. And then, we've just been full of gratitude and everything. So it's good.
It is really crazy. It's been 2 years, not only since we opened up our practices, but let me take a look here on Spotify and see when we posted our first episode. November 25th, 2023. That is 11 days out from right now. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I love it.
That's nuts. It's right. We're going to have to throw a party into this. Let's over the next 11 days crank out 4 more episodes so we can do episode 100 on the 2 year.
I'm not opposed. Not opposed.
All right, maybe that would take a lot.
All right, let's jump in, Dr. Tim. So lots of people getting sick these days. Lots of people getting sick. A lot of patients coming in with things. A lot of people messaging us online. a lot of family and friends getting down with things. And then we've even come across some things, just being at different events and whatnot. Right. So, let's kind of jump in. Like, what are some of the things that we're seeing, coming into our office? What are some of these sicknesses going around? What are the main ones that are usually going around every flu season? And let's kind of jump into those and kind of really what's happening. I know, sometimes there's a poor understanding of like, viruses versus bacteria and what's actually going on there. And then of course we'll get into the things that we see people are actually needing these days.
Did you say getting down?
What?
I think you said getting down, like patients are dancing.
Hey, maybe in Dallas.
Sorry,
Oh,
I had to. I think you
well,
meant coming down with sickness, not getting down. They're getting down with some sickness.
It's a fun virus,
So with the things that people are getting down with recently, what I'm actually finding is patients will get these nondescript, not testing positive for just about anything viruses. And so, a lot of patients that come in, they don't go get tested for these things because they get sick and they know that if they come into the office, we're going to find herbs that fix them very quickly. And so they just don't waste the time or effort to go to an urgent care or anywhere else because they're not going to take whatever they give them anyway. So they're right. Just kind of treat us like primary care a lot of times, or urgent care, whatever you want to call it. There's a ton of people that do stuff like that, but the people that do go get tested, usually it's more sick. And so people will be getting, fever, chills, body aches, all the stuff. And it'll end up being some sort of virus that flu doesn't test positive, COVID doesn't test positive, RSV doesn't test positive. All these things aren't testing positive, but it's some sort of virus. And so it kind of begs the question, well, what is it then? And it's probably just some mutation or strain of something that is not widely known or studied for or anything like that. And so it's just not testing. But what I'm finding is there's very significant overlap in things that are testing positive for the flu or COVID, things like that. I'm finding specific herbs for both those things, as well as for the people that aren't testing for anything. Or I'm also finding the same herbs to test across the board for people that are testing positive for COVID, for the flu, for RSV, like all sorts of things like that. And so it's interesting, I would say. Why is it that the same herbs are testing for different strains or different viruses right now? I don't know, but it's just what I end up finding. So there's that, but then there's some other things that go along with it that I can get into in a little bit. But all in all, as far as sickness goes, that's probably one of the biggest things is I call it the phantom virus. I know actually for our longtime listeners, our very dedicated listeners, you guys probably remember when I coined the term the crud. I would argue the crud is still going around based off of what I'm finding still. And it's almost like there's a new surge that last January/February or so, there was the initial, maybe it was the what was it? The initial COVID strain, the Alpha, and then it was like the Omicron or Delta or something like that. So that's basically the Alpha crud. And then the summer was the Delta crud. And now we're into the Omicron crud, if we're putting it in COVID analogies. But that is that virus that I was talking about previously that's not testing positive for anything, but for some reason patients are responding really, really well to olive leaf. And a lot of them are having protein digestion and detoxification issues where they're requiring support for an enzyme called arginase that helps clear out arginine, which is a byproduct of breaking down protein. And it's the last step before you convert it to urea and then basically pee it out in your urine. So those two things in conjunction are still, I'm seeing a new wave of it. It's not quite, the Arginex is not quite as prominent as it was over the summer as well as in the new year, but I've still seen a couple people that have needed it. And so it's still around. Yeah. The other big herb that I am seeing very, very, very often lately, not only with this virus, but with just about everything, is andrographis.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know what it is, but I would argue that more people now are testing for andrographis for upper respiratory viral bugs that are going around where they're getting just regular sore throats, a little bit of a cough, drainage, things like that, or a full-blown flu bug COVID type issue, and andrographis is just kicking its butt. Along with that, I'm not really finding anything ammonia, toxicity, byproducts of the infection that need to be addressed as well.
Yeah.
But andrographis is doing really well. But I've had a couple patients with pneumonia that andrographis has totally kicked its butt. I've had a couple patients with, SIBO, microbiome imbalance type stuff. Andrographis has been kicking that. That's just, for some reason it is testing exceptionally popular lately, and it's been doing really, really well. And I don't understand why. Sometimes that's just how things go. It's interesting. And one last thing before I stop my long-winded rambling and then turn it back over to you. I'd love to hear your take on this, but I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before. But say a patient has a gallbladder problem where they're not detoxifying hormones effectively, but then they also have a insulin problem that's affecting their liver, yada, yada, whatever it is. Say they've got long hauler COVID. Here's a better example. Say they've got long hauler COVID and they require glycine to help clear out all those cytokines through glycination. Well, they'll also, say they've got a, gallbladder issue where they're not clearing insulin or something like that. I'll often find that the nutrients that we'll test in one circumstance and then in the other circumstance for the other organ, they'll both have functions that work for both organs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like nutrients, say you've got a nutrient that only works for one. I have been noticing more so recently that nutrients will test more often that they'll have a purpose for more than one organ that is currently testing to be a problem. Okay. And so it won't test as like a primary nutrient off of both of them, but both of them are super common nutrients for both situations, and they're totally different circumstances, but the function of whatever nutrient you're giving them is it has a good utility. So it does different things. So it's interesting, but those are the things I'm seeing a lot of lately. It's the andrographis, the olive leaf again, and then also I'm noticing that, like, I had a patient the one day that was testing for olive leaf for their gut, but then they tested for andrographis for this viral thing, and I've been seeing both vice versa a lot for both.
Okay. It's almost like both together kind of cover things.
Yeah.
And then, do you know what kind of doses? Are you seeing any like dosages across the board that are pretty common, or is it just vary?
I tend to do those pretty standardly. We base it, I think andrographis, we do 2 capsules 3 times a day. Okay. And then olive leaf, it's 3 times 3 for adults. And then we just divide depending on age of kids. So if an adult is 18 years old and say your kid is 9 years old, that's half of the adult dose.
Yeah.
And, so basically it's just a factor of math, but whatever dose we're giving them, it's working. And I find that even if they don't take it perfectly, it still does its job.
Okay. That's really cool. That's great to hear. Yeah. As far as the different organs and finding different nutrients that kind of complement each organ, I think that's kind of an interesting conversation we haven't really got into on camera or off, but it kind of goes back to like different theories or understandings of like with our muscle testing and with the way that the techniques work that we do, like what takeaways can we take from it? And I would say that, Dr. Tim, when we get to what's like the primary organ on somebody, which is like the top priority organ system, the root organ system, and we find what we call the priority offender, so the number one thing that's causing the stress to that system, and then we look for the priority nutrient or herb to fix those things. I'm actually convinced that nutrient is not just needed for one system, but it's likely needed for multiple systems because of how it's a root issue and it's going to impact different organ systems. So to hear that, that doesn't surprise me at all. I think that sounds super logical with things. So if you find, like, let's say olive leaf for the gut, well, obviously olive leaf is antibacterial, so it's going to help different gut issues. It's antiviral, so it's going to help the immune system. It supports Treg cells with the immune system to just strengthen the immune system. So it's like it's going to help a lot of different things. There's also a lot of ties with olive leaf to the thyroid health. So a lot of times if I have patients that have gut issues and viruses and low thyroid, like I oftentimes see they test for olive leaf, and it makes perfect sense. It's just kind of the best herb for their system. Dr. Tim, any other comments on that, Dr. Tim?
I mean, it could go a lot of directions.
It could. Let's stay the course. Let's stay the course.
Yeah, for this circumstance, let's just let that be for now.
We will tangent later. So one of the big things, Dr. Tim, that I recommend, people to understand is obviously there's different types of sicknesses. You get into flu season. There are some people that get influenza, which is considered the flu, right? That's just from viruses. Some people get COVID, which is from viruses. Some people get like strep throat, which is from bacteria. And it's really important to understand what you're dealing with and how to tell what you're dealing with so that you know kind of what herbs or what treatment to look at. Now, Dr. Tim, to comment and kind of touch on one of the things you mentioned at the beginning, which was like which virus is kind of going around. And you mentioned the phantom virus. Well, to be honest, I mean,
crud.
The crud virus. There are, I've seen different research, anywhere from 270 to 400 some different viruses that can infect humans, right? And then, of course, they all have like their different strands and different things like that. So to me, it is like it's almost not important which virus it is, because at the end of the day, the immune system needs support for going after these things and getting over these things. Yes, if you understand it's COVID versus influenza versus whatever else, you generally will have you'll have specific symptoms to those, viruses. Like a lot of people, when they got COVID, they lost their taste and smell. And there's usually going to be herbs that we find are more consistently needed for that. But in general, when it comes to like sicknesses and viruses, it's like there's a lot of consistencies across the board. And that should help us be able to kind of find the treatment a lot better, a lot quicker, a lot easier. Here's how you determine if your sickness is either bacterial or if it's viral. And that's, again, important because you need to know that in order to understand what treatment might be needed. So number one, if you get sick and you have some kind of phlegm, some kind of spit, some kind of junk, if it's clear, you're most likely dealing with viruses. If it's green or yellow, you're most likely dealing with bacteria. That's one big one. Another one is if you have a lot of like runny nose type symptoms, a lot of times that's going to be more viral related, whereas a sore throat and throat pain is usually going to be more bacterial related. So it's really important to understand those things so you can understand kind of what the treatment looks like. With viruses, Dr. Tim, well, actually, let me just start here. I think with anybody that's come in with immune system stuff, like everybody tests for needing high doses of vitamin C, specifically CAMU, and then high doses of vitamin D. And then I would say in general, people need to eat grass-fed butter and protein. The butter helps with the fats to absorb things like vitamin D, but in general, just the healthy fats and grass-fed butter also strengthens the immune system. And then, of course, we need protein to make our immunoglobulins, which are our immune system cells. So those are like four basic things: vitamin C, vitamin D, grass-fed butter, and protein, that if people get those right, their immune system gets so much stronger. Is there anything else that you would add to that kind of like basic list, Dr. Tim, or anything else to note on that?
I think all those things are important. I have been seeing a ton of vitamin A recently.
Vitamin A,
not only in the circumstance of the immune system, but also skin dryness, gallbladder issues, things like that. And quite honestly, the dose that I had been giving patients previously is not cutting it. We've basically been doing a double dose at least. So we've actually started dosing that out in the office recently because patients have come in and had tests for numerous visits. And so I actually had them, dose it out. We do the taste testing in the office. Patients are needing like 70,000 IUs plus. Actually, let's see. I'm actually taking it right now. So my bottle is right here. 6 drops. Yeah. 6 drops is, what's the math on that?
That's going to be
72,000 IUs per day, at least. Some people are taking even more, and it's been like I've had patients who've had indigestion, bloating, things like that for just years, and we've worked through microbiome imbalances and gallbladder issues, and this is the last thing that tests. Totally good. Or like skin problems where they get all kinds of redness, dryness, things like that, knocking it out of the park. But I would argue that seasonally, I will end up seeing vitamin A more often every year, because once you get to where it gets a little drier, and flu stuff starts going around, that's when you're stripping your body of vitamin A, because it's used to regulate those Treg cells. It's used
Yep.
along those to regulate the immune system and fight things off. So you're going to demand that stuff more. I would say, based off of what I'm finding, that's probably one of the best ones right now that I'm
Yep.
seeing. But also, like you said, vitamin D is high on that list. Zinc, high on that list. All of those things are going to be super helpful. Fish oil, glutathione, a lot of stuff like that.
Yep, that's good. That's good. The other things that I'll add there too is a lot of times when we see viruses, like specifically if we know it's COVID, elderberry has been amazing. And then Dr. Tim's taking his vitamin A this morning, and elderberry has been amazing for COVID. I would say I've seen olive leaf quite a bit as well. I've seen olive leaf quite a bit. And then in general, I'll see, lately I've been seeing more usnea. It's not one that I usually use a lot of. I know it's highly recommended by a number of different practitioners, but that's one I've seen a lot more of lately. And that's been to help with when people have bacterial symptoms like the sore throat, but then also the viral symptoms like the runny nose and stuff like that. So I've seen usnea as well. In general, though, what I'm recommending people do is just increase the vitamin D, increase the vitamin C. Make sure you're eating really well. Make sure you're avoiding sugar and junk food. Make sure you're getting good movement in and good sleep, managing stress. All those things are super important. Dr. Tim, there are some people that kind of say like, hey, when it comes to germs, there's kind of two different like thought processes. One is if somebody's sick and they have a lot of germs, you should absolutely stay away from them to just overall limit exposure. And then the other thought is, no, you should be able to be around them, even if they're full of viruses, and if your immune system is strong, you won't get sick. I'm a kind of I think you can be a believer of both. What I mean by that is strengthen your immune system. So if you are around somebody that's sick, you should be fine. Your body's good. But at the same time, if you know that your immune system might not be as strong, or if you want to kind of reduce overall likelihood of you getting sick, then, if you know somebody's sick or you know that there's some stuff going around at some group, I would say don't be around that group, and that would just kind of help. But for me, what I do is I support my immune system like crazy, and I go in and just do whatever I need to do. And part of that too, especially here at the office, if patients are sick, like, hey, come to the doctor, and we'll get you, we'll work to get you well. And so as far as myself, our office, we're supporting our immune system so that it's strong. And I've people come in every once in a while that are sick. Of course, we wipe everything down afterwards and all that good stuff, but I don't get sick. And if I feel like maybe I was exposed, okay, I might increase the vitamin C, vitamin D, make sure I eat my butter, my protein, and usually I'm good. There are times in the past where I've started coming down with something, and even with patients, the sooner that you can start addressing things aggressively, you can usually nip that sickness in the bud. And so what I mean by that, Dr. Tim, and you've probably seen this too, is if you have something coming on, if you can rest really well for that 24, maybe that 24 hours, take really high doses of the right things, oh my goodness, you can basically take a nap, wake up, and that stuff is gone, and you feel normal again. Compared to a lot of people just think, oh, it's coming on, and they just kind of think they're going to be sick for 3 or 4 days. I would say if you've got the right nutrients at the right doses, I would say a lot of times you can kind of nip that thing in the bud. But that requires, again, a lot of times muscle testing to figure out specifically like what are the nutrients you need, and then also how much, what's the doses of those things. Because we don't want to, obviously, and I don't do this, I know you don't do this, but we don't want to just give people different advice online like, hey, take 100,000 IU vitamin D when like they don't need that much vitamin D. But when we can muscle test things and figure out like, hey, you need a ridiculous amount of vitamin D, and you need this, and you probably should go take a nap. Man, a lot of times they get better very, very quickly. So, Dr. Tim, what else here as far as the immune system? What else are we seeing? I mean, there's a number of different ways we could go with things, but I feel like we've done a good job covering in general. Hey, bacteria versus virus. We talked about different herbs, different immune support, different things you're seeing. Any other tips, anything else that we can give to our listeners to help them not get sick this season? I might have a couple other things to mention.
I mean, there's always the typical, wash your hands, wipe things down, all that stuff, cover your mouth when you cough. I mean, those things are pretty standard, Of course, being active, not going overboard on caffeine and regulating blood sugar, all the things that we always get into with patients as far as health goes as a whole, just sticking to those things. This is a time of year where I would argue a lot of those things fall apart for the sake of Halloween. Everybody's in close quarters and everybody's, doing all kinds of parties and stuff like that, big church events, all those things. But then from there, you get into Thanksgiving and everybody's, got potluck style meal and stuff like that going on where everybody's in close quarters. Air gets drier because the heat gets turned on, and that's when stuff spreads more. Same at Christmas. It's just kind of that time of year where everybody's in close quarters again and things are going to be more likely to happen. But that's where, like you said, if you're really looking to prevent, preventing can be done with your vitamin A, your vitamin D. A lot of times things like thymus PMG, spleen PMG from Standard Process, those are really good immune system support nutrients that will just give your immune system organs more resources to repair themselves and continue fighting against something else. And so doing those, that's a great option. Camu or some sort of liposomal vitamin C, anything like that, that's just a good bioavailable bioflavonoid containing vitamin C. That'd be great. All of those things are awesome at helping keep the immune system doing well. And I've had plenty of patients that say when they take Camu from Supreme Nutrition, they just don't get sick really. It just all really depends on what you got going on and what you're doing to keep yourself healthy, what you're exposed to, all those things. So just gotta do the right things, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is the list goes on, it can be a pretty long list. It's just, we can recommend so many different things. I have patients that are like, yeah, what should I take? What should I take? I'm kind of developed my like medicine cabinet that we talk about. Yeah. And I'll say, I mean, yeah, there's like 15 things that we could do, but what's the most practical answer to that? And the last thing that I want to come off as is like, oh yeah, if you want to do all these things, let's do all 15 of these things. Those will keep you really healthy. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
But top ones, if you're really looking for my top things, I would say Camu from Supreme Nutrition.
Yep.
Vitamin D, zinc. Those are probably some of the most common ones that I'm seeing currently. Yeah. As far as it goes for your T-reg support nutrients, meaning the ones that are helping your immune system work on that balance.
Yeah.
Now, for the viruses and like the actual therapeutic herbs, things like that, it's a different story. So that's more so the olive leaf andrographis. If you're looking to actually put problems to like put fires out, fix problems, that's what I was trying to say. Andrographis and olive leaf. If you're just, listening from home and you're like, man, so-and-so's sick over the holidays, or I'm getting sick, or whatever it is, andrographis and olive leaf. By far and large, that is one of the most common things that I'm seeing right now. And as far as it goes for pneumonia, let's see. I'm trying to think real quick. I've been seeing with pneumonia, I'm going to look up a patient real quick on my system here. I believe this patient, let's see. Yeah. Even with pneumonia stuff, I've been seeing andrographis lately too. So really, if you're any sort of sickness, andrographis and olive leaf are the two things right now that you should be doing. So cool. That, and just don't go overboard with the bad stuff with the holidays. The end.
Yeah. Love it. I'm going to give my kind of top recommendations and some dosages too with that. We have put together a little handout in our office. It's called the Immune System Support Guide. And it was something I put together a couple of years ago to just help people overall, like that are in the office are like, hey, what should I do for my immune system? Boom, hand them this piece of paper. And so if anyone's interested in that, I can definitely send it to you. The last thing I'll note before I jump into some other like supplements and dosages is I would say definitely, like Dr. Tim commented on it just at the end there, be careful going through into the holidays. Like, don't just eat a bunch of junk food, be around a bunch of people, and then be surprised like if you get sick. Obviously, support your immune system so that that doesn't happen. But when you go and eat like for Thanksgiving, don't just slam down all the carbs and the sugars and the desserts. Like, eat good protein, eat some vegetables, and then have a little bit of dessert, right? Same thing around Christmas time. Don't just slam the cookies, like have some self-control and still eat good food. And if you do that, you'll feel well, you won't get sick, and you'll actually go in through the holidays and into the new year feeling really, really good. A lot of times, Dr. Tim, you probably hear this a lot, but patients will come in during the holidays and after the holidays, and they're like, hey, I'm doing what you mentioned as far as eating right. I'm taking these supplements for my immune system, and people don't get sick. And it's awesome. It's awesome. All right. So what are my other recommendations? So Dr. Tim hit the nail on the head there. Vitamin C, Camu. With that, we use Camu Supreme. A lot of times for general support for adults, like for general basic support, I'm recommending usually anywhere from like 4 in the morning, 4 in the evening, just basic support. And then if you're going to be around somebody, you could do 4 3 times a day. Or if you're even getting sick or you are sick, a lot of times I'll have people take anywhere from 6 to 8 of them 3 times a day. A lot of times I'll have them take like 24 a day, basically 8 3 times. And that yeah, it helps amazing. Here's the thing. It's easy to know if you're getting too much vitamin C because your stools will get a little bit looser. That's like the number one thing. So if that happens, just know, okay, hit my limit. I need to cut back a little bit. But you want to kind of just reduce the dosage because, again, your body's still needing that. With vitamin D, we use Biotics. Vitamin D Forte is essentially what it's called. It's a little dropper. There's 2,000 IU per drop. For adults, usually looking at around 8 to 10,000 IU per day in the winter season, just to strengthen that immune system, keep you on 100% there. And then if you are getting sick or you are sick, I'll usually encourage people to go up to like 30,000 to 40,000 IU per day. I think I had a patient that came in sick the other day, and I think he was testing for like 40 or 50,000 IU vitamin D per day. But I said, hey, as soon as you are, getting better and stuff, we're going to drop that down to like 8 to 10,000, somewhere around there. And then with zinc, I love zinc. I think zinc is one thing I forgot to talk about earlier. I'm so glad you mentioned it. I really like zinc chelate from Standard Process. If you are vegan, I like zinc zyme. It's ZN-zyme, ZYME from Biotics. But with zinc chelate, that's the number one thing that I'll use for zinc. I'm usually recommending 1 or 2 twice a day. Usually 2 twice a day for general support, and then maybe up to 2 of them 3 times a day if you're getting sick. Butter, everybody should be eating about 2 tablespoons of grass-fed butter, and protein should be getting at least usually around 75 grams of protein for women a day, up to 100 if you're working out and real active or have a lot of stress. And then in general for men, usually about 90 to 120 grams of protein per day is a pretty good baseline. If you're working out more, got a lot of stress, got a lot of demand going on in your life, usually you want to increase that protein. If you eat, again, the test with protein is if you eat and then you get hungry within about 4 or 5 hours, if you get hungry before 4 or 5 hours goes by and you have to eat again, that's a sign that you didn't get enough protein, or that you're getting too many carbs. So you want to keep an eye on that. Guys, if you do these things, I'm hopeful that you will be able to stay strong and not get sick this winter. If you guys need anything, definitely feel free to reach out to either of us, and we would be happy to give you any advice or tips on things so that you and your family can be strong, healthy, happy, and have a great holiday.
Preach.
Come on.
My best advice, just don't get sick. You'll be good. You just won't get sick then. You'll be good to go.
Dr. Tim. We should have started off that way.
Yeah, just don't. That's the episode. Flu season 2025. Just
don't get sick. It'd be like a 10-second video.
You know what's funny? I actually had a patient during this podcast text me and say, hey, I know you guys aren't in the office on Fridays usually, but any chance you are there? Because I have COVID and need some help. So
Love it.
she'll be coming in right after we get done. So
You're a good dude.
funny
You're good.
timing, isn't it? Are we taking bets? Maybe we should put a poll out. Angiographis or olive leaf. Let's see if we can vote on what it's going to be. What if
Oh,
it's
I'm betting
neither?
olive leaf.
You betting olive leaf?
Yeah, I'm betting olive leaf.
I bet.
And I don't know if they're on this, but
for
probably
COVID.
can.
So COVID used to be. So our I'm sure our longtime listeners, maybe they remember this. I don't know. Probably not. But back when COVID first was coming around, we used to identify a COVID infection by seeing elderberry and astragalus root testing in combination. That's what got rid of COVID.
Yeah.
I don't see that at all anymore.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that much anymore either.
I'll see people with
think
COVID
it's the different
infections and it
strands
does not. I'm sorry, what was that?
I think it's the different strands now, right?
Yeah, I agree. I've seen olive leaf, but I have been seeing angiographis for that recently.
Yeah.
So maybe this title should have just been called olive leaf and angiographis.
Check Uznia on that patient too. See if you find anything.
Uznia. Yeah. I had one bottle of that and I gave it to a patient a while ago and it wasn't on our list to reorder and I haven't seen anything else not clear stuff. So I haven't gotten more. So maybe
you have the sample kit?
I do. Actually, you're right. You're right. It is in that.
Use that. I haven't used it a lot either until recently. Everybody started testing for it. So I'm like, all right, might as well order a bunch. So
maybe it's in that Dallas water.
It's in the air. It's in the Dallas water. Who knows, man? There's all kinds of funky stuff in this one.
But anyway, all right. Let's wrap things up.
Hey, I'm Dr. Joel. Practice here's Freedom Health and Wellness. We're in Flower Mound, Texas. You can find us online at drjoelmiller.com. You can find our Instagram as well. Just search Dr. Joel Miller. If you guys have any questions or need anything, reach out. We'd love to help.
I am Dr. Tim Augustiniak down here in Bentonville, Arkansas at Flourish Functional Wellness Center. Remember, if you're an existing patient, we will be moved by the time that you hear this episode. So we're going to call everybody, make sure that everybody has the proper address and everything before they come on in. But if you're listening to this later on and you did not hear that, well, we will not be at our prior office.
We will not be here.
We will not be here. It will be something else that I am unaware of what it is. So when it's not us, we are not there. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, flying accusations, or need anything, suggestions for future episodes, feel free to reach out. Let us know. If not, we will see you guys in the next one. And thanks again for listening.